I'd be like, hey, can we go pick up a chocolate milkshake and drop it off at WZOK for Jammin JY Kelley?
The Fizz Radio. TheFizzRadio.com.
Hi there, I'm J.Y. Kelley. Thanks so much for tuning in to the FIZZ TV. It's sort of the video companion to the FIZZ Radio. If you listen to the FIZZ Radio, of course, at thefizzradio.com, or you can download the Live 365 app, search the FIZZ Radio, and listen on your app for your phone, tablet, TV. You can listen in CarPlay. But as long as you're here on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notified when we publish new episodes. And we're talking with some fun folks, kind of give you a behind-the-scenes look at the FIZZ Radio and what made us what we are. Today, I am so thrilled to welcome my friend Magic Zack Percell from TNZ Magic. I've known Zack for a long time, since you were but a wee lad.
That's right. It's been quite a while.
When I was on the air on ZOK, back in maybe 1989 or 1990, this kid would call me up on while I was on the air and do magic tricks. He's like, I can do magic tricks. And I'm like, well, that sounds fun. Let's put him on the air. You were like 12 years old or something like that when you started calling me. And you would do card tricks, and of course it's the radio. So, the whole gag was, you're doing these card tricks on the radio, and you would always pick the right card, and everybody was always amazed that Magic Zack is doing magic tricks on the radio. And that was kind of the gag. But I remember one year also, I was on the air New Year's Eve, and you made 1990 disappear.
That's right. I made the whole year disappear. I remember that.
So do you remember, I remember your dad, you and your dad used to come by, bring me chocolate shakes. It was it was a fun time, and it was always great to hear from you whenever you'd call in and we do that fun magic trick and things like that. How you been?
I've been great. How about yourself?
Doing great. I'm really having a good time with bringing the radio characters back on the FIZZ Radio, and I don't know if you've heard, but we've got Liz Wilder back on the air.
Yeah,
we're getting the band back together.
That is so awesome. I just saw that the other day that you had Liz Wilder on. Because of course she was one of the staple DJs back in the late '80s and early '90s, and there was that whole group. It was a really interesting time in my life because I started doing magic kind of semi-professionally in fourth grade. I was the only kid in class who had his own business, and I was going around to birthday parties and nursing homes and stuff, performing magic. And it was kind of funny because my family every summer, we would go to a festival in downtown Rockford, just on the west side of the river at Beatty Park called Beatty Is. And we'd get there and we'd kind of, as I got a little older, we'd kind of go our separate ways and just kind of experience it. And the Big Max was there, and I knew nothing about radio, nothing about anything, but there was the nighttime guy at the time, Jesse Garcia, was doing his live remote show from there. And some of the other DJs were out there too. And it was just like, I started watching this and I was in awe because I was fortunate to have parents that were very supportive. Most kids, they go to their parents and say, I want to do magic for a living. They're like, yeah, okay, yeah, forget about that and just worry about getting a real job. Yeah, what's your backup? Exactly. My parents, my dad, he designed and bought me my first business cards for Christmas and everything, but he was also realistic, and he said, hey, you should have a backup in mind, and so I didn't know. All I wanted to do was perform. I just wanted to be on stage in front of people. And I saw this guy, Jesse Garcia, doing this live remote, and he didn't seem like just a radio DJ. He was performing, I was like, I didn't realize this was the heyday of radio. I mean, it was like, you guys were local celebrities big time back then. On 97 ZOK was the #1 hit music station in the area, and radio was a big deal. It was kind of cool. And so I was just mesmerized watching this and watching, all the girls were coming around and watching and all excited about the whole thing, So I was amazed by it. So I started calling in, you know, like the following week, started calling in and requesting songs to the point where, you know, my voice on the phone would get recognized. Oh yeah, you just called the other day and requested, yeah. Well, within like a couple weeks of that, Jesse Garcia moved on. He went to a different radio station, and then somebody else came in that did the nights for a little while. A guy named went by the name of Rick Johnson on the radio, and his real name was Walter Flackus, and he was in a band on the weekends in Chicago. And then they ended up getting signed later on, and he left. It was a band called Stabbing Westward that became really popular and everything. And I'm still in touch with him every once in a while. And you came in and started doing nights, and I'm like, I'm going to continue this tradition. I love this J.Y.
Sure.
Kelley guy, Jammin J.Y. Kelley. He's awesome. So I started calling in, and my dad would want to go grocery shopping, and I'd be like, hey, can we go pick up a chocolate milkshake and drop it off at WZOK for Jammin J.Y. Kelley? And so yeah, we'd do that, and so it was just fun, and I'd start hanging out at the remotes and everything, and
Well, I appreciate the chocolate shakes, and you and your dad sort of keeping a starving radio DJ, you know, well fed.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. It was a fun time.
How did you get started doing magic? You were just a kid at the time, and talk to me a little bit about how you, you know, how you got interested in magic, the kinds of tricks you were
Sure.
doing, the kinds of illusions you were doing when you first started, and how that all evolved.
Sure. It was actually kind of a two-phase thing that happened with me. When I was about 7 years old, that was when the famous event that only people our age remember now, where David Copperfield made the Statue of Liberty disappear, and it was
Right.
on TV. And yeah, and so I that was in the very early 80s, and I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen at that time. And so that year I asked for a magic set for Christmas, and I got it, and I just started working on the magic tricks. So I would force my parents and my sister and my brother, when I could, to come up to my room and watch me do a magic show once a week, because I'd try to improve it better and better. But I kind of lost interest in it. And I wanted to be like a drummer in a rock band. That was the only other thing, you know, I had to be something performing, but I was no good at drums, and I couldn't afford a drum set. So in fourth grade, we had moved just a couple miles away, and there was a kid that was a friend of mine out on the playground, and he had a little box, little tiny box with a playing card in it, and he was showing people, and he closed it up, and he'd open it back up, and the card would disappear, and he had this big crowd gathered around him, and I saw him doing this. And it's like, how did you do that? You know? And so he said, I can't tell you, but I can tell you where to get it, which actually was Kmart, toy section at Kmart, nothing mysterious. But then he told me about a local magic shop, and it was a magic shop called the Magic Manor, and it was at the East Wind Mall, which still exists, but the magic shop isn't. It hasn't been there since the late 90s. But I used to go in there, I had a paper route, and I'd spend all my money learning magic tricks from the owner, Dick Goff, and he would bring in lectures from all over the country, magicians from all over the country that would show acts and then teach them. You just pay to learn how to do the magic tricks, because a lot of people ask, how do you learn magic if you're not supposed to reveal the secrets? It's money. It's, you know, it's always, you know, you pay to learn how to do these things, pay other magicians to teach you. So that's kind of how that whole thing started. And like I said, my dad got business cards made up for me, and I just started handing them out, putting them on all the bulletin boards around town, making up flyers, put them on the library bulletin board. And then Rockford Public Library started hiring me, and they've hired me pretty much every year to do their summer reading program for like the last almost 40 years, you know, to do that. So, and just, I started advertising any way I could, and promoting it, and just kind of became a business.
That's awesome. So you had a partner when you started out, Todd. TNZ
Yes,
Magic
yes.
is Todd and Zach, right? So when
Correct.
did you meet Todd? When did he become a part of the act? Tell me about that whole relationship. And
Yeah. So another kind of a funny story. So when I was in seventh grade, back then, seventh and eighth grade were junior high, and West High School had turned into a middle school, and that was the first 2 years that it was a middle school. So I went there then. When I was in eighth grade, my dad had been laid off from. He worked for the big Sunstrand Corporation. That was the reason my family lived in Rockford. He worked at Sunstrand for 13 years and then got laid off suddenly. So he was looking for a job. And so he started selling landline phone systems at a small place called Communications Development Company over on Kilburn Avenue while I was in middle school. And while he was there, he was super excited about me doing magic, which was, like I say, that's just kind of a rare thing. Parents aren't usually that. And so he would kind of tip me out, as they say. He would tell his boss, "Hey, you should hire my son to do our Christmas party or our company picnic or something like that. He does a great magic show." He would promote me. And so they did. I did the company picnic one year. And after I did that, the following week, my dad was in the office talking to a coworker or something about my magic show. And there was the insurance rep for the company was like in the next room over talking to somebody about insurance. And he overheard my dad talking. And the guy said, "Hey, did I hear you say your son's a magician?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, my son's a magician too." And he said, "Really?" And he said, Yeah. How old's your son?" He said, "Oh, he's in 8th grade at West." "Oh, my son's 7th grade at West." And yeah, he's just getting ready to do his first paid magic gig. And I said, "Oh yeah, my son's been doing it for a couple of years." So he said, they should meet. They should get together. So I came home from school that day. My dad came home from work and he told me about that exchange. And he told me, I said, "Well, what was the guy's name?" And he said, "Well, the guy I talked to, his name was Matt Ripplinger. His son's name is Todd Ripplinger." And I said, "Oh yeah, I know that name. I knew his older brother, Mike. His brother, Mike, was a grade ahead of me and he was a grade below me. And we had all gone to Conklin Elementary School together." So I went back to school the next day and I was standing outside of my English class before going in, and Todd came up to me and he said, "Oh, are you Zack Percell?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, I'm Todd Ripplinger. Yeah, our dads met the other day." And I said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "Oh, well, you should come over and I'll show you the magic tricks I've got. You can show me the magic tricks you've got. And, we can kind of compare notes and everything." So I said, "Yeah, that sounds great." And I can kind of remember, I went over the next day and I can kind of remember when that is, or I could look back and sort of pinpoint the date, because I got to his house. My dad dropped me off at his house and it was the night of I think it was the Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson fight, probably I don't know, 1990 or something like that. And it was I think the fight that Tyson lost the first time. And his dad made us watch the fight before we went to Todd's room and started showing each other magic tricks. So that was how we met. And we hit it off right away. We instantly became best friends. We were both big David Copperfield and Penn and Teller fans. And, we had really similar interests. And so we pretty quickly, we started kind of working together. I had a bunch of shows booked at the time and he was just getting ready to do his first paid gig. So he started coming with me to my shows and kind of helping me out and kind of learning stuff. And then I go with him to his shows and help him out. And meanwhile, we started working on kind of a duo act, kind of putting routines together. And it was several months later, but we eventually debuted our act. The very first time was in private at school, at West Middle School, for the choir class. We went and we did in the chorus room. We went in there and we did a performance in the chorus room. And then it went over really well. It was really well reviewed by the students and the staff who saw it. So then we ended up putting together a whole act, like a whole big act. And we debuted that at the very first, back then it was a festival, a New Year's Eve festival that ran for several years in downtown Rockford called First Night Rockford. And we ended up debuting it at that, and then they ended up hiring us back pretty much every year that festival existed to perform at First Night Rockford. And
when the two of you would get together and kind of develop this act, did you find that one of you had a certain sort of style or focused on maybe whatever card tricks, and the other guy would sort of complement that with more mentalist stuff or different kinds of illusions or things like that? I'm thinking of Penn and Teller, certainly there's two distinct personalities, but they have developed this act that sort of feeds off of each other.
Right. Yes. And Penn and Teller being big influence on us. obviously we didn't want to copy what they were doing, have a silent
Sure.
person and a
Right.
talking person, but we played with the trying to find exactly what we were as far as that goes the entire time. I mean, we worked together for about a decade, and that whole time we just kind of played with different ideas. A lot of it was I and we kind of switch roles back and forth every once in a while too. Like I would be kind of like we wanted to do comedy magic. A lot of times I would just be kind of the goofy out there, like just coming up with these wild and crazy, insane ideas on stage in front of the audience. And he was kind of the straight man, just kind of keeping it together, so that we didn't go too out there. Like, we had a routine where Todd would get put into a straitjacket. And so he'd get like a lady to come up and put him into the straitjacket, or sometimes a big guy to come up, put him in the straitjacket. And I would say, well, I want to challenge you to an escape routine, or an escape, like a race, to see who could get out faster. But we would do this thing where I wasn't quite as skilled as Todd was at things, which was kind of a genuine reality. Actually, he was always better at everything than I was. And I was happy about that, because he was he was a couple years younger than me, but he was like a little brother that I looked up to. And so what we would do is my escape, instead of a straitjacket, because I wasn't quite as good, it would be a little bit easier for me. I'd have a bunch of kids come up and mummify me in toilet paper. So I would get wrapped up in toilet paper, and then I would cheat by I would sit in a chair wrapped up in toilet paper, and underneath my chair, there would be a pocket holding like a big rusty hacksaw and a big file. And I'd pretend like it was difficult to break out of the toilet paper, and I would saw away at the toilet paper with my hacksaw, and then he'd see me and come kick the hacksaw out of my hand and push me over in the chair. So that was kind of the funny thing too, is
You get the easier material, plus you get the tools.
plus I cheat. Yeah. That kind of thing. So, and I would try to come up with these silly ideas. That's funny. Just a couple hours ago, before we got together, I thought, I wonder if I could find any of my old cassette tapes of when I would call in and do the silly radio magic or something like that. And I didn't have to look too long.
No
I found
way.
something. I didn't know what it was at first, but I found this tape here. Can you see this on here? It says on here, this label, it says TNZ Jammin JY Kelley card magic, or card trick. And I'm
No
like, well, what is this? So I scrambled, because this was just like an hour before we got on here. I scrambled to find a tape deck that I could play this on. I found
Who's
like
got
an
a
old-
cassette deck anymore?
I know. And I found 3 of them actually in my basement. One was just like a little one with a speaker on it that I couldn't get it to work. I put new batteries in and I couldn't get it to play. I found 2 old stereos, and but they were too big to bring up to my studio here. So I was able to get it to play on one, and I recorded it on my phone. And this is something, I don't know if you remember this or not. I thought this was like maybe one of the card tricks I did on your show, but I remember at one point I had this idea for a card trick I wanted to do in the show that Todd and I had, but I wanted you to help me out with it. So I said, "Oh, can you help me out with this card trick?" And so you did, and you recorded this thing for me at the studio, and we got it. And I actually, I won't play I don't have to play the whole thing. It's like 3.5 minutes long, but like the last minute, you might be interested. I think you'll be able to hear this. I recorded it onto my phone, but this will kind of give you an idea of the kind of stuff that Todd and I did, the silly ideas we came up with. But here, let me turn this up and I'll play this into my headset microphone here. So basically what it is I said, I have a cassette tape from the future, because we always had a stereo, like a boombox or something that we'd have on stage that we'd play music on. And I'd say, I'm gonna play this tape. It's a card trick from the future. And so it's me doing a voiceover, which I ended up doing I do it part-time, voiceover work. And I didn't even realize that's what I was doing back then. And I tell Todd on stage, "Hey, go out, find a deck of cards, and go out into the audience, find somebody from the audience, have them pick a card. and I'm going to make a phone call. And so, I'm not doing ventriloquism and just saw the card and say what it is. I'm going to make a phone call and somebody else is going to tell you what card you picked. So somebody would pick a card like the 5 of diamonds. And then so I go through all that, and this is kind of the end of it, the last minute of it.
Sitting over there. We're not going to look at it. Okay. Good. Now, what I want you to do is hold the card up to your chest so that nobody can see it. Wake up.
I'm telling myself to wake up because the real me at the show is apparently falling asleep listening though.
Now, all right, now here's what I want you to do next. I'm going to make this phone call here just to prove that we're not using ventriloquism or anything. We're going to figure out what the card is, but I'm not going to do that. Here's the phone call we're going to make.
Oh, 97, is he okay?
Hi, is this Jammin J.Y. Kelley? All right, this is Magic Zack. I'm calling from this show, and we're doing this card trick, and I was wondering if you could tell me what card the audience member selected.
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much.
And there it is. You revealed the card in our magic show.
I'm glad I could help.
Yes. I don't know how long we had that trick in our act, but we had it for a while, and we had you revealing somebody's card in our show for a while.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Isn't that great?
Oh,
I was so
man.
glad I found that.
I am too. Thanks so much for sharing that. Sadly, Todd passed away back in the early 90s it was.
Actually, it was 2003. So what happened? Yeah, 2003. He was 25 years old. And yeah, unfortunately, sad story. He had a huge, bright future ahead of him. After he graduated from Auburn in '96, he went to Columbia College in Chicago, and he majored in video production and also video animation. Like digital animation and video production. And he minored in Japanese language because he became fascinated with Japanese culture. He dated a girl from Japan, an exchange student from Japan one year in high school, and was fascinated with Japanese culture after that. And then after he graduated from Columbia College, he went to Japan for a year because he became fluent in Japanese while he was in college. He was a super smart guy. He was just brilliant. And so while he was in Japan, he joined something called the JET program, where you know how there's like exchange students. This is exchange teachers. So you go to a different country and you're like an assistant teacher at a classroom in a foreign country. And he loved it. It was actually I went to visit him for a couple of weeks while he was over there, and that was in 2001. And then after he came back from Japan, he worked at one of the local TV stations as a master controller for a little while. And then he did actually go back to Columbia College to work for a little while in that video department to help out there. And then one of his friends that he went to school with at Columbia, who studied video production, started his own video production company in Maui. And so one day in late 2002, Todd came over to my place and he said, "I got to tell you something." He said, I've already talked to my family about this, and you're the last person I'm telling, because I'm most nervous about telling you this, because we've been working as a partnership business doing entertainment for the past 10 years. But I'm considering moving to Maui. He said, a friend of mine from college started a video production business, and he wants me to move out there and work with him. And it's a really good opportunity. And especially since on his trips back and forth to Japan, he met somebody and started dating her. And he was planning on proposing to her. And she had always said she wanted to live in Hawaii. So he said, yeah, Ikoko wants to live in Hawaii, and this is just an opportunity. He said, but I wanted to talk to you first and see how you felt about it, because unless you move to Hawaii too, that would mean that would be the end of TNZ Magic. So I said, I didn't skip a beat. I'm like, you can't pass up that opportunity. I don't blame you one bit. I mean, that sounds amazing. You gotta do this. You definitely got to do it. And so he did. He moved February of 2003 out to Maui, and he was loving it. It was the job though that he had. He decided that he would have a better opportunity several months later working for the big production company out there. It was a big video production company. They would video things like those corporate outings, like the corporations that do the outings, and you go out to Hawaii or something and do all these activities, and they get video of it as incentive programs for employees. Well, that's the type of thing that they would mostly video. And so while he was there, he did that job, and he did like web design on the side. And he met a guy that was a realtor that he became good friends with, and he was also a surfer. And this guy started teaching Todd how to surf. And so Todd would call me every Saturday, just like he'd call his family every Saturday. Right after he talked to them, he'd call me and give me updates on what was going on and everything. And this one Saturday, he called me and he said, I am excited because the following week it was that time of year in late November where these big waves would come in from Alaska. I forget what they call it, but it's usually the time of year where the video crews will go out and video like for movies and stuff, where you have those huge waves. And he said, I'm going to go out there and catch video of these waves because they're going to be massive. And I said, oh, are you going to surf? And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm an amateur. He said, I'm not good enough of a surfer to really do that yet. But I want to get some good video of that. So yeah, he would call me up to give me updates while, he was out there doing all kinds of fun and interesting stuff. But yeah, he learned to surf, and this guy that taught him how to surf, they'd become good friends. And so one day, after, he had told me that these rash of waves were going to come in from Alaska, and he was going to video them. And I said, are you going to surf? He said, no, I'm an amateur. I'm not, I'm not ready for those type of waves or anything yet. So I said, well, go ahead and let me know how it goes. Well, that later on that week, Thursday, he was excited. He sent me an email from his phone. He had gotten he was the first person I knew that got a flip phone that had a camera built into it. He's like, hey, I got this phone. It's got a camera built in it. And he took a picture of a rainbow going over a highway that he was on. And he sent that to me and to his fiance, who still lived in Japan. And then his family also here in Rockford. And so that was really cool. And then Sunday came, and I get a call from his brother, Mike. And he said, hey, when was the last time you heard from Todd? And I said, oh, come to think of it, I didn't hear from him yesterday. He always calls me every Saturday. I said, the last time I heard from him was he sent me that email on Thursday with the rainbow, the picture of the rainbow. He's like, yeah, we got that too. And he said, that's the last time we heard from him too. And he said his fiance, because Ikuko, from Japan, he had proposed to her in October, just a month before, almost 2 months before this. She said he calls her every night in Japan when he's going to bed, and she hasn't heard from him since Thursday night. So I said, well, that's strange. And I said, well, this is Sunday. That's bizarre. Yeah, he didn't call me Saturday. So he said, well, I'm gonna go ahead and we're contacting people over there. His new boss at the new company he works at, and we're going to see what's going on. And if he doesn't show up to work on Monday, because he didn't show up to work on Friday, and he had never been a no call, no show to anything. He was a super responsible guy. And so he said, hey, if he doesn't show up on Monday, we're going to buy tickets and fly out to Maui and look for him. Because he's not answering his phone. So I got off the phone with him. I tried calling his phone. It went straight to voicemail. And so what's going on here? So Monday morning, whatever the time difference was, I get a call from Mike. It said, yeah, he didn't show up to work. We're flying out there to Maui. And I said, gosh, I'm 26 years old, and I'm living in an apartment and in this like failing marriage. And I'm like, I don't have any money, I can't fly out there. But so I said, well, I wish I could join you or whatever. And he said, well, you're part of the family. If you want to come, we'll get you a ticket. You can come with us. And so I said, okay, well, I appreciate that. And so that's what happened. They ended up buying me a ticket. I ended up going out with his brother, his dad, his mom, his stepmom, and we all flew out there to Maui to look for him. And by the time we got there, uh, they had fire department searching the water in a beach nearby where he worked, because they had found out that his car was in this parking lot, because he would get up every morning at like 5 in the morning. He'd go surfing and then he'd go to work. Well, it turned out he went out that Friday and he was videoing the big waves, and he probably just couldn't resist not being able to say he went out and surfed that day, and he gave it a try. And unfortunately it didn't work out for him. His surfboard was found washed up on the beach in the area where he would have been surfing. But we didn't know about that until the following Thursday, because a kid had found it and brought it home, but they showed a picture of it on the news, and he turned it into the police. And that's when we found his cell phone wrapped up in a towel in his car. His fiance found that when we got his car and everything. So we pieced it all together that that's what had happened.
Man, tragic, sad, sad story. It was an important part of TNZ Magic, and so you carry on his name in the name of your show. That's great.
Yeah. I still call the business is still officially TNZ Magic is the official business name. Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the magic that you do and the kinds of gigs that you're getting these days. It's almost
Sure.
summertime and ramping up for the year. What do you got going on?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I've got a lot of different stuff going on. The last few years, one of my favorite things that I've done is I've done a lot of library summer reading programs. Like I mentioned earlier, I've done the Rockford Public Library's summer reading kickoff almost every year for decades, but that's kind of expanded out to a lot of different libraries. I've done up to 45 different library programs per summer for the last like 4 summers. And I've got right around 30 or so booked for this coming summer. And so it's a little bit lower this year for various reasons. But that's one of my favorite things to do every fall. This is going to be the 6th year in a row. So in Rockford, everybody knows about Edwards Apple Orchard, but everybody in Woodstock to Chicago knows about All Seasons Orchard. And All Seasons Orchard is a very big, family-oriented, super fun apple orchard. And for the past 5 years, and now this will be 6 years in September and October, I have my own stage out there where I do about 60 shows in 2 months. Every Saturday, Sunday, and holiday at noon, 2, and 4 p.m. I'm out there doing 3 shows a day, and it's a blast. It's such a cool place. And this year I'm super excited because I just signed the contract for my 6th season out there, and they're going to give my stage a really super cool facelift, basically. It's going to be a much better, much more amazing and high-tech stage than it
Laser
ever
lights
has
and
been.
smoke shows and pyrotechnics.
Well, maybe not quite all that, but a few things. We might have some smoke and some bubbles. We'll see what happens there, like bubble
Bubbles.
party
No
stuff.
lasers.
going
We
on.
got bubbles.
Yeah, we got bubbles. Who needs lasers when you got bubbles? And I wish we could still use pyrotechnics. Unfortunately, those days. I used to do that. That's a whole other story. I used to be in the pyrotechnic business too. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And the cool thing was they let me design the stage, and because that's something that I've always wanted to do since I was a kid, was design a stage. And so I finally got to do that. And so we're going to start construction on the stage facelift. I think in sometime in the late spring, early summer, I think. So I'm super excited about that. But I do dinner theater shows, corporate events. There's a place out in Galena called Amelia's Under the Lamplight Theater that I'm just been talking with them. I've done a couple of shows there so far, and she wants to start putting me on the schedule for like at least a weekend a month to get me to do a bunch of shows there, even more than I even expected from the beginning. So that's a fun adult show thing that I do. And so, pretty much anything I can, I'll do.
Is there a trick or an illusion that you have been doing for years that you still love doing?
Yeah, there's this one routine that I've been working on for, over 10 years, and it's constantly evolving. I'm constantly working on it, and I've auditioned for both America's Got Talent and Penn and Teller Fool Us with it. And unfortunately, I didn't make it on TV for either one of those auditions. But I came close with America's Got Talent, and there's only a certain number of the performances they like from certain genres, like magician performances they like, that they can put on. And I actually received word from the top executive producer next to Simon Cowell. His personal assistant got back to me and let me know that they weren't able to use it because they were like, I got beat out by a particular magician. I think for that audition, and that year it was Matt Franco, and he ended up going on to be the first magician to ever win first place on America's Got Talent, and he's got his own Las Vegas show now. So yeah, so I was like that close, but and that trick, it's something that uses a borrowed dollar bill, and I borrow a dollar bill from somebody in the audience, and I do some crazy things with it, and it's one of those things where like nobody can explain, nobody can figure it out, and it's great, but it's a lot of fun. It's a fun routine, and then it involves a felony too. It involves somebody ripping up a $1 bill. But unfortunately, it's not the type of trick that I can do for you on video, because I really have to like borrow a dollar bill for it to work. But I can show you something with a dollar bill that is kind of part of the trick. So the trick is I borrow a dollar bill and I predict something about the dollar bill, the serial number. I predict what the serial number is going to be. Then I have somebody rip it up into pieces, and then I put it back together again. And when I put it back together again, something initially kind of strange happens, and I'll show you with this $1 bill, because I know you wanted
hold
to
it up
see
just
some
a little
magic.
higher so we get I'd love to see.
Okay, is that better? Okay,
Yeah,
cool. So what I do is I normally would have the dollar bill torn into pieces. I'm going to do a different trick. It's kind of a combination. This is something that everybody wants to see with a $1 bill, especially if I borrow it from them. They want me to take the $1 bill, fold it in half again, show you both sides, show you both hands, in half one more time. And then when I open it back up, first give it a little squeeze. When I open it back up, if this works, all four pieces, well, it's not torn up this time, but all four quarters change. And it changes into a $100 bill. Can you see that? A $100. And this $100 bill is a 100. This isn't just an ordinary $100 bill. This $100 bill is from an alternate universe in which I am on the $100 bill.
Up until that point, you were going to pay my bills.
That's right.
I'm investing in Magic Zack now.
There you go. Yes. Yeah. I like to tell people my financial advisor taught me this trick.
Right.
So this is kind of fun. It's a special movie bunny that I had made that's got my picture and my contact information on it. So I can give that out, when I'm doing this live for people, and it's like a business card, sort of.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of your contact information, how can people contact you to book you for the, corporate event or, company Christmas party or their kid's birthday party or whatever?
Yeah, so you can contact me. My website is just TNZMagic.com, not to be confused with TMZ, the paparazzi. T as in Tom, N as in Nancy, Z as in Zach Magic. And my email address is tnzmagic@gmail.com. And that's a really easy way to get a hold of me to find out the types of stuff that I do. And I'm on facebook.com/TNZ Magic. And I'm old, so Facebook is pretty much the only social media I really know how to use, but I'm working my way to figuring out more. Yeah.
I'll make sure to put those links in the show notes in case somebody needs to reach out to you and book you for their event and stuff. And tell us again, where can people see you this summer around the Northern Illinois area?
Yeah, so let's see. My website, tnzmagic.com/schedule. I try to keep that updated with the different locations that I'm going to be performing at, and it gives information on public events. Like I said, All Seasons Orchard. I'll be starting at the end of. Let's see, it's the end of August or September 5th, I think is the first date this year. And it goes all the way to the second to last weekend in October, just before Halloween, every Saturday, Sunday, and holiday, 3 shows a day. And the fun thing about that too, is we have pig races out there, and I get to MC the pig races, which is a lot of fun as well. So yeah, boy, I'm going to be all over the place this summer. It's going to be pretty wild. You want to learn a magic trick real quick? Do you have time to learn something real quick?
Yeah. I'd love to learn a magic trick. Can you teach me something simple that I can remember?
Yeah. I'll teach you something simple you can
I'll impress
remember.
my wife with it later.
Absolutely. All you need, this is a really, really simple version of a simple thing. And what I've got here, I've got a couple of pieces of yarn. Okay. This is a magic trick that I used to teach. I sometimes do little teaching sessions at certain parties. I'm going to be teaching a bunch of nurses.
Do I need some yarn to follow along with you?
If you have any, but that's no problem. I can just show, you'll be able to remember this. It's a simple thing to remember. It's super simple, but I just use 2 pieces of yarn, and anybody can do this at home. It works best with actual yarn, actual cotton yarn, as opposed to the synthetic stuff that's really common. It just seems to work better with this. But what I do with the 2 pieces of yarn is what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to make the 2 pieces of yarn become one. If I grab the ends like this, all I have to do is blow on them, and then they instantly become one piece of yarn just like that. It's one of the easiest magic tricks in the world. But I don't know, can you see that well? Is that in frame pretty well?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, cool. So I'll show you how this works. It's real simple. I always give people the opportunity to guess first. Do you have any guesses on how that might work?
I haven't the foggiest, because when you showed it originally, you could clearly see the 2 ends, right? And
Right.
The ends of it. So it looked like
yes.
2 pieces of yarn.
It looks like 2 pieces of yarn. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a mini illusion. It's just an illusion. It was always 1 piece of yarn, but the way to make a piece of yarn look like 2 pieces of yarn is, see, a piece of yarn is actually just 4 pieces of string that are twisted together in a spiral. So what you do, and let me know if it might be kind of hard to see this part, but I grab it like this, and I use my thumbnails to pull 2.
Hold it up just a little bit higher. There you go.
Is that about right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. 2 pieces of string in my right hand and 2 pieces of string into my left hand, about an inch or less. And then when I let go, they just kind of start to twist back. I just finish twisting them off like that. So what that does is that creates the illusion of 2 pieces of string. You just kind of do that around the middle. So I just kind of bring them out and hold them like this, because right here, if I show you this part, you can kind of see that what's going on there. So I just try to hide that as much as possible. I drape it over. This is what it looks like from my side. So all I have to do is, when I show you the whole thing, I just grab right where the 2 sides are, the 2 pieces are connected. So all it is showmanship. This is so simple. It's just showmanship. All it is I say, I'm going to do something magical. You wiggle your fingers or blow on it. I grab onto one end with my right hand, and as soon as I let go with my left hand, I'll do it in super slow motion for you so you can see what it looks like. I let go here, and I immediately grab here, and I pull, and all that does is that just allows everything to just kind of twist right back together the way it originally was, like that. So it looks like 1 piece of string. So that's just like a super, super simple thing you can do. And you can do it with the same piece of string about 2 or 3 times, and then eventually that center just kind of starts to stay unraveled. But in real time, again, I've got 2 pieces of string. I'm going to make them become one. Just blow at them and let go. And there it is like that. It becomes 1 piece of string. So
Nice.
super simple. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
doesn't get
Ladies and
simpler.
gentlemen, Magic Zack. Amaze your friends. Try this at home.
Thank you. There you go. That's right. You can try that at home.
Hey, buddy. Thanks so much for joining us on the FIZZ TV. I really appreciate it. Great to catch up with you again. Glad things are going
Hey,
well.
too.
We will meet up again at one of your events this summer, if not before. And yeah, have a great time. Great to see you.
Yeah. Great talking to you. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.